everyone has an opinion, don't they? Everyone has an opinion whether you were ready, not ready, whether the way you rode it, the way you didn't ride it, what happened, yada, yada, yada.
100%.
I am guessing there was a few of those going around yesterday as well. Can you obviously do not name names, but can you talk us through that kind of process as well? Because that shows up for everyone.
There are more people getting involved and saying, go for it. It's awesome. It's so cool that you're doing this. But there's also more people who are starting all of a sudden to come up and have an opinion, whether the horse is fit enough, whether I should be doing, where I shouldn't be doing, what I should be training, or how I should ride the cross country. Like people who's never raised their opinion before, all of a sudden feel a need to raise their opinion. And, before and after. And, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And I know that all those people have my best interest in mind, 100%, because they could also just not have said anything. Like, it's easier to not say anything. And I'm sure that they have the best intentions for me, for the horse, they just want us to, do well. So there's nothing bad with that. But to make a very long story short, I think a huge part, and I think that's where you're aiming it here, Lorna, is just to learn to deal with other people's opinions. Yeah. Happy Monday and welcome to the podcast. As always, today we cannot really talk about anything else than the fact that I went 4-star for the first time in my life, and Echo's life for that matter, last week. There were some really cool stuff. There were some less cool stuff, to be honest, as it is when we debut at a new level most of the time. So yeah, we're just going to talk you guys through the whole experience. Some of you are probably following me on Instagram already, and you'll have a hint. You'll have an idea of how this week kind of developed. But for those of you who didn't follow me on Instagram, to make a very long story short, we basically started out with dressage. And I practiced really, really hard to learn flying changes the last 3 weeks. Before that, we hadn't really done much of that. So we got a sharp deadline and we practiced very hard to do flying changes, with a result of that Echo did jump a flying change every here and there, not necessarily where they were supposed to be in the test. And he also added some special effects to it. And he also decided to spook in a corner. So yeah, to say the least, we got slaughtered by the judges. But hey-ho, we got through it. We got to show jumping. And I gotta say, I kind of was quite nervous. And we're going to get to that throughout this episode. But I gotta say, to step into the ring and just to be in the warm-up with people like Imrid Klimke, a lot of the Liedekerke, and not on their young horses. It's one thing when you kind of are next to them and they're on their young experienced horses, but when they're on their top horses, the whole Swedish team were there with their top horses they're going to bring to the World Championship in Aachen. And all of a sudden you're in the middle of all of that with your 8-year-old horse doing all of this for the first time. And I gotta say, that got to me a little bit. So I was quite nervous for show jumping. We ended up taking down 3 poles, but we got around and we were allowed to go cross country. Cross country started out amazing, as such a good feeling. Got to fence 11, where unfortunately we got a little bit close into it. Echo left a leg. He managed to land on his 4 legs, but I did not quite manage to sit out his acrobatic moves, so let's say. So I landed on the ground and we were eliminated. But there is so many, what can I say, positives to take from it. So that's really where I want to start, the way you look at an experience like that, the way you look at an event like that. And like we often say, Lorna, like the meaning that you assign to something like that, the meaning that you assign to a happening, an experience, it's so easy to look at that and be like, oh yeah, see, we weren't ready. It was a bad decision. And there is, to be honest, not part of me who feels like that. I know there's a bunch of people who think that and who say that. But to me, it's really just like, I'm so happy I did it. I'm so happy I did it because I've learned so much from it. I've gained so much experience. I've gained so much knowledge. The horse has proven that he can do it. He jumped 10 fences and he felt amazing. And like, it really is just the beginning of a journey. Like, because we had this experience now, we went through all those first time experience. You're in the ring with all those guys. You have to learn those flying changes. You have to ride a 4-star test. There's much more audience. Like over here in Belgium, we hardly have audience coming to our events, but because it's 4-star and it was a nice day, there's loads of audience. And I think all of those things, and you're in there for the first time, like next time I go into something like this, it won't be the first time anymore. You kind of will know what to expect. It will all feel more familiar. So all in all, it's been a super cool experience. We've learned so much from it. And I feel like this is really just the first step towards being hopefully able to ride a 4-star before the end of the year or next year.
I think there's so many cool things in there that you've said. And I think one of the first things that I would pick up on, and we can pull this apart a bit, is expectations going into something and definitions of success, Because 100%. I think we all hope that we're going to get through every single event. Doesn't matter whether you're doing 4-star, you're, whatever level you're at. We all, yes, we tick all our boxes in our training and we hope that we can get through, we can tick off each bit and we can get to the next bit. Absolutely. But I wonder if you can just tell everyone about your definition of success and expectations actually, going into your first 4-star. What were they?
Yeah, the goal that I kept on saying to myself, I want to get to the finish line. That was my goal. Let's say, first far as you can set that as a goal, because as we usually know, you can't. It's not so good to set a goal that is not 100% within your control. And let's be honest, if whether or not you get to the finish line of a cross-country course, it isn't necessarily 100%. Inside of your control. 100%. But okay, let's just say I had set that as the aim. That as the aim to just kind of survive all 3 phases and get to the finish line. And that's was, when the dressage didn't quite go as well as I had maybe hoped. I knew it was going to be a challenge. But the fact that he then started spooking in those corners, that kind of didn't quite help. Yeah. So, okay, I was a little bit disappointed after the dressage, I got to say, just because I kind of, I had not expected to get a 30, but I had hoped that we were going to land around 40 and we ended up with a 50. So yeah, I was a little bit, but more because I knew that we could do more. Like we could have shown way more. Wouldn't he have spooked? Wouldn't you started kicking in those, in the half passes and stuff like that? But what I kept on telling myself, look, you got through dressage. You can go to the next phase. Like all you need to do was to get through dressage. You didn't jump out of the arena. You're not eliminated. The goal is just to get to get to the next phase, which we did. And same thing with show jumping. People ask me, are you happy with your show jumping? I was like, there were definitely super good parts in there. Okay, I messed up a line a little bit and we got 3 poles. Okay, no one wants to have 3 falls. But at the end of the day, we didn't get 5 and we're allowed to go to the next phase. The goal or our aim is just to get to the finish line. And that's why I kept on telling myself the whole time. So I was, the whole time I was like, okay, that's fine. And I think when you talk about expectations, I think the fact that we started out cross country is so good. Like I had such a good feeling, and it was early in the course. It was a huge kind of oxer table hedge thing where I just walked towards it and I couldn't see to the other side of it. It was just enormous. And then straight after that, there was a huge drop coming into 2 brushes fences, also enormous. One of them was kind of like, I don't know, a kind of court. I don't even know what to call the fence, to be honest. Something between a corner and a skinny and a hedge. And then there was a water fence where you kind of had to jump into a river. And I was like, okay, I don't even know if we're going to get to that point. And then we had gotten past it and it felt easy and it felt immense. And that's where my head went like, we actually got a real chance to finish this thing. I just about had the chance to think that. And then we dropped the leg, we were eliminated. But talking about expectations, I think seeing that was my target the whole time around, to just get to the finish line. And then I really started thinking that was a real possibility. That's kind of where I was a little bit bummed, whereas I scraped myself together and got up on my feet after falling off. It's like, we could have actually really made that happen. Like we were so close. It felt so good. Like we were almost around half the course. We had done some really tricky stuff and it felt easy. And I think that's where you get a little bit bummed with expectations and just like,
And so from there, how do you then, we always talk about information gathering, how do you go from that point of feeling bummed, which is, I think it's an interesting one. Your definition of success is just to get through each phase, Yeah. And things happen. We know things happen. There's always a reason for it. But how do you get yourself from that point of, shit, this could happen, Like I could actually complete not just a 4-star, but like my definition of success to, as it happens to us all, you're literally sat with your bum on the ground. And we've seen it all the time. If you watch any of those events, your dreams, your hopes, whatever it is, in the blink of an eye, you're sat with your bum on the floor. What is the process of getting yourself up from the ground to then go information gathering and process not hitting your definition of success and all those kind of things? How do you start to process and rationalize all of that?
Well, so my first go-to is like everything happens in my benefit, and everyone knows this. Like the universe always has my back, and so that's the first thing. That's the first place I go to. I think that was one of the first things I said. Someone was like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, first of all, the horse is fine. Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm a couple of bruises richer, but I'm also a lot of experience richer. The universe always got my back. The ground was really, really hard, and I have a horse that is quite sensitive to hard ground, and any other event. I might just have said I'm not going to go cross country, but because it was the first, and you kind of think I'm not going to go fast anyway. We're going to do it carefully. I was like, I'll give it a bash and see what happens. Yeah. But then part of me is immediately like, okay, actually, you already knew the ground was too hard. The universe kind of gave you until fence 11 to show that you guys can do it, that you're actually, you have a horse you kind of gave us a taste of like, you can actually do 4-star, like the horse, it's in there, it's in you, it's in the horse, but it didn't want to let us do the whole course because that would have just been too much on the leg. So then I'm always like, okay, thank you, universe. Like you gave me an opportunity to show that we can do it, but you didn't let us, stretch the legs more than we necessarily had to, if that makes sense. So that's the first thing I always go to. Like the universe, this always happens in my benefit. The second thing was also actually, because it's easy to say like, okay, my goal was to get to the finish line. That's what I kept on saying. Like, that's my aim. Definitions of success, though, I would almost say is something different, because really when I went into this event, the main reason I wanted to do it was because I wanted to start to gain experience. I wanted to start learning. When I've been going 3-star the last couple of times, I've started feeling like it's easy. I don't really know what my working points are anymore. And then I was like, oh yeah, maybe it's to go fast, to like, go a 3-star within time. And then I did that. And then that also felt easy. And then I was like, what is it? What is my working point within cross country? Like I felt like there isn't this one thing where I feel like, oh, I really need to work on that. And that was the reason that I also wanted to do this, because I wanted to start the process of learning. I wanted to go into a 4-star and see where we were at, see how far away from that finish line that we actually are. So the fact that this now happened made me realize that corners is not, it's something I never realized it before, because we've kind of always been getting through it. But once this happened now, and we were on the ground and he had left that leg, I was all of a sudden, it took me an hour and a half, and I was like, actually, this is not the first time that he jumps funny on a corner. It's not the first time that he twists his hind legs in a strange way, or that we almost miss a flag. He jumps corners not, it's not as smooth or as, spot on as I would like them to be. And this just showed that there is work on corners. Like we have work to do on corners. And the second thing that became really clear was also like, there were some people even told me like, I think you need to work on his fitness. Like if he would have been stronger, if he would have had more stamina, if he would have been fitter, he might just have gotten that leg out the way. You never know. Like, you never know. But, he might just have gotten that leg out the way because, Arbil is kind of going up and going down, jumping bigger fences that horse has ever done, going off drops the size that he has never, ever seen, And after all of that and cantering up and down hills, like, he might just have needed to be a little bit fitter to do that, to have the quickness, the sharpness to actually get his legs out the way. So that was the second thing of like, okay, cool. I now actually have 2 really clear working points: stamina, fitness, getting him stronger, and working on corners. And that's exactly, when I look back, what I was after. I wanted to do this because I wanted to see where are the gaps in our training? Where do we still have work to do so that I can then make progress?
Yeah, I love that. I always say to everyone, find the CCTV, huh? Let's find the evidence of what actually happened, because it's easy to let your mind run riot with you and come up with all sorts of stories. Exactly what you say. Were we ready? Were we not ready? Should we have done this? Should we have done that? Could I have ridden it better? Yes, we can all ride it better. But like, let's find the evidence and the facts in everything you say. The other thing I want to pick up on, you said before, other people's opinions, huh? And I think that's a really interesting one, because everyone has an opinion, don't they? Everyone has an opinion, whether you were ready, not ready, whether the way you rode it, the way you didn't ride it, what happened, yada, yada, yada.
100%.
I am guessing there was a few of those going around yesterday as well. Can you obviously do not name names, but can you talk us through that kind of process as well? Because that shows up for everyone. That's for sure.
That's such a good one. That is such a good one. I think we spoke about, I don't know if you've spoken about it. We have spoken about it. I know we've spoken about it on the podcast, but there are definitely, and I think that gets, what can I say, highlighted even more when you're starting to step up to that kind of level. Like people who had opinions maybe before can't help by raising their opinions. And there are more people actually, you know, minding them in your business, to the lack of a better word. There are more people getting involved and saying, you know, go for it. It's awesome. It's so cool that you're doing this. But there's also more people who are starting all of a sudden to come up and have an opinion, whether the horse is fit enough, whether I should be doing it, where I shouldn't be doing, what I should be training, or how I should ride the coast guard. Like people who's never raised their opinion before, all of a sudden feel a need to raise their opinion. And, you know, before and after. And, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And I know that all those people have my best interest in mind, you know, 100%, you know, because they could also just not have said anything. Like, you know, it's easier to not say anything. And I'm sure that they have the best intentions for me, for the horse, you know, they just want us to, you know, do well. So there's nothing bad with that. But to make a very long story short, I think a huge part, and I think that's where you're aiming your tail, Lorna, is just to learn to deal with other people's opinions. Like this has been such a challenge, even like from the moment I even started talking, not even decided I was going to do it. The moment I started like speaking out that I was thinking about doing it, there's so many people who had opinions. And, you know, so from that moment, it's just been this ongoing journey of learning to park people's opinions. What should I take to heart? What should I not take to heart? What should I listen to? What should I not listen to? Which people should I even go in discussion with? Or which people should I just leave? And to just be like learning to accept that people have opinions and that I don't necessarily need to listen to everyone's opinions. Because if there's one thing I realized is that everyone has different opinions. So to listen to everyone's opinions and follow everyone's opinions is simply impossible because everyone has a different opinion. So to just actually turn inwards and listen to your own instinct, your own intuition, your own experience, your own knowledge. And it's not to say that I'm always right. 100% I'm not always right. But to dare to rely on your own feeling and go with that and dare to trust yourself. And even if that is not always the right thing to do, you will always learn something from it. And your own experience and your own judgment will develop from that.
I think that's it's a key point, because if you go into it trying to prove everyone else wrong, trying to prove that it's the right thing to do, that you're good enough, that the horse is good enough, like whatever that looks like, you're going to go into anything we do, not just you, but everyone. We're going to go into that with a very different definition of success, or a very different intention, actually. And all of that stuff about proving that you're good enough, you're ready, like whatever that looks like, takes us away from everything we know. You know, I sent you a message and I said, just ride the horse that you know. And that is fact up, because everybody chucks stuff at you. And the last thing that I'm going to do is tell you something different. Like, trust yourself and ride the horse, you know, the way that you know how. Because I think in all of this, we have to be brave enough to trust ourselves, to connect back to our horses, back to ourselves, back to our process, because everyone is always going to have an opinion, And if it goes right, everybody will be like, yeah, I told you so. If it doesn't quite work out the way that we'd hoped, everyone's still going to say, hey, I told you so. So I think it's so important to actually bring it back to, you know, connection with yourself, your horses, and your process.
100%, 100%. And just keep on choosing your own meaning, keep on choosing your own definition, keep on choosing and looking for reasons in which this serves 100%. You, and that this happens in your benefit, and how this is all a part of the, you know, your bigger journey, like how this was a piece of the puzzle that I needed to get to the next level.
And I think it's easy, you know, we talked about this the last time on the podcast, like people look at results, they look at a piece of paper, they look at numbers, but they have no idea the experience that you've had that is beneath just those numbers or results or scores, or, you know, whatever that looks like. And I think that is a real skill, to actually just keep believing in yourself and taking the information 100%. And keep training and keep getting better, and, you know, appreciate people's opinions. Like you say, most people have your best interests at heart, but you know, is it useful? Is it going to make me better? And if it's not, then, you know, just not ignore it, but park it somewhere, and, you know, it's not helpful.
No, 100%. And, you know, something that actually just comes to mind as well, that popped up for me a few times during the weekend as well, is just the amount of courage it takes to suck. And when I say, the amount of courage it takes to suck, like for me, this week was actually all about having the courage to suck. Like, in the lack of a better word, our dressage sucked. Like we got slaughtered. I literally
there was
slaughtered.
lots of good parts in there. Let's just put that.
There were 100%. But I think it's also about, which kind of crowd that you're placing yourself amongst. If I looked at the names and the horses that were in this class, there were just 27 riders in there, but there were, as I said at the beginning, there was a Swedish team. They just brought their, world champions horses to have, a warm-up competition for that. There were like the biggest names in Belgium, because there's so many, stars, and I was at the back of the result list the whole weekend, and you go into dressage, and it's nothing to say that there's anything wrong with that. I had a young horse. It was the first time for me, but to carry that the whole weekend, to be like, okay, we're probably the shittest one in the class, and that's fine, and we're carrying the shittiest result, because you also, the whole week, people keep on asking you how is it going, how are you feeling, because everyone knows that you were there doing your first 4-star. And, on positive and, in both sides, I had so many people walking up to me and saying, you're crazy, but freaking hell, like all the respect, and you are crazy, but like we're freaking, go for it. And it's awesome. Like people that were there, people that were sending messages on Instagram and WhatsApp. There were so many people that were there, but to also constantly have to say to those people, we got slaughtered in dressage, that happened, I was scared in the corner, and every time you need to do this story again and again, and then people come up to you, how did you feel about the show jumping? I watched it, but like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm and the thing that just kept on popping up for me is like, yeah, it fucking takes courage to suck. Like the amount of courage to even, get to the point where you register for this competition, show up at this competition, go through phase 1, suck, go through phase 2, suck, go through phase 3 and suck, and just continue to just believe in your process, believe that this is the thing that's going to help you forward. But, just keep on reframing all of this. I know that I'm good at this, but this was next level even for me. But
I don't believe that's true. That, like, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't believe you sucked, because I guess we've done a lot of work on ourselves, and there's so many facts you can find out of it. There's so many pieces of information. If I look at it objectively from the outside, not being your friend as well, you guys don't compete in that atmosphere. That's the first thing I noticed in your dressage test. You rode down that centre line. There was all those tents, there was flags, there was all that kind of stuff. Here, that's quite a norm. Our horses get used to that kind of, quite regularly. You guys don't. So there's a massive atmosphere to start with. You're not used to riding it. He's not used to riding in it. So that's what I take from the dressage. There's loads of good bits in there. There was lots of good movements in there. Your show jumping started brilliantly, lost a little bit in the middle, pulled it back at the end. Like jackpot. Like it didn't get wilder. It didn't get freer. You didn't take more pause. You got it back again. Huh? So therefore you've returned to connection. Cross country started off brilliantly. You got a bit close to a fence. Huh? You left a leg. You hit the ground. Like, okay. I don't believe that's sucking, huh? Like, I don't believe any of that suck. I think it's full of learning. Of course it is, and it's full of the most amazing experiences. But if you take the fall out of it, if you take the score out of it, if you take the numbers out of it, and let's just find the facts, that is how I would summarize your competition. So therefore, for me, it's nothing but a success, really.
Yeah, which is true. You're so kind, and it's so true. But I think, and that is a whole, that is so much truth in that, and there were so many good things, and we have done, so many awesome things. Even with all the pressure,
your medium trot across that diagonal, like epic, like it's so good, huh? But not at one point have you actually mentioned that, because our brain. Yeah. I know not on purpose, and you've done a lot of work like I have, but your brain by nature is going to find the negative part of the experience. And I think by people, and you don't do that by nature, but by people constantly reinforcing it. Okay, how was it? How did it feel? Well, you've stood there and watched it. So what you're trying to do is get a reaction out of me to say, oh, it felt shit, or oh my God, I'm so nervous, or oh God, this happened or that happened, or whatever. If you stood there and watched it, you saw what happened, huh? If that was me, I'd be like, super well done for getting through it. Started off brilliantly, lost it a little bit in the middle, got it back again, huh? Finished strong. Well, what more do you need to know, really?
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think I kept on doing that the whole weekend as well. And but I think it's just something that I really experience is often, you say you kind of have to learn to be fine. Sucking is maybe not the right word, but you need to learn to be fine with, being a beginner. Like you need to learn to be fine.
And being uncomfortable, huh? Like
and
I talked about
100%,
that. Like when I went that first
100%.
intermediate, I said that to you, it's the first time in a very long time I felt physically sick before I've gone cross country, huh? Like, and the amount of conversations we have with riders and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to feel like this. This is so awful. How do I get rid of it? You don't get rid of it. You learn to,
be fine with
use your tools and be fine with it and accept that it's there and it's part of it anyway. And it's part of your performance and you ride anyway, huh? Like it's not about that it suddenly disappears. But I think what's not great is when people keep reinforcing, how are you? How are you feeling? Are you okay? And yes, sometimes
are you ready
it comes
for it? Are you ready for cross country? Are you ready for it?
Yeah. And it comes from a place of care in some cases. And I think in some cases,
it does. 100%.
People are also trying to get a reaction out of you sometimes. Huh? But that is okay because it's actually about learning to understand yourself, control yourself and regulate yourself in the moment and forget about all the other information, the busyness that's coming in and, all that clutter that's in your head. And actually just, it is connection. Like I keep saying it, but connect to yourself, connect to your horse, connect to your process.
Yeah, 100%. And I gotta say, I am so proud of myself because it was like I was, and I would think I was most nervous for dressage because we didn't really know all the movements so that we had to do, but also for the show jumping because like it was just being around all those people and it was massive. Like Arvil is famous for being huge in show jumping, but it was huge. Like the oxers were just parallel, like it was maxed. Highest show jumping course we have ever jumped, right? And then in front of all those people and among that crowd and among those competitors. So I gotta say, I am so proud of myself for getting through all those 3 phases. Okay, we didn't get to finish like the cross country, but we got in there and we rode and we did some amazing things in there. But I guess the point I'm just trying to make is, it almost gave me fuel, actually, the fact that I realized, okay, this is what it feels like to be a beginner. This is what it feels like to actually, be the least, like I'm in a crowd where I'm probably the least competitive. Me together with my horse, we are the least experienced. We are like, he's the youngest horse. I've never done the least experienced rider in this class. And, I was like, okay, this is freaking uncomfortable. Like this is so uncomfortable, but I am actually at the place where I'm growing the most. Like I'm in the room where everyone is smarter than me, where everyone is better than me. And the fact that I am here and I'm showing up is exactly the place where I need to be to make fast progress. And that's the way I've reframed it for myself. But that is a feeling. And I felt it before, but never to this extent. Like this, like you said, Lorna, was uncomfortable. And I think to feel that and be able to, reframe that to being like, okay, I'm exactly at the place where I need to be. That was such a, challenge, but incredible experience.
Yeah. Cool, huh? So I think that's the coolest tip for anyone. If you take out whatever has happened in a competition, whether it's your dressage score, whether you've had 5 fences down, whether you've had a run out stop falling off cross country, think about the facts and the evidence in that, huh? Like take that because that is what's going to help you grow and get better, huh? Like our mind will make up stories all day long. I think everybody can get stuck in their own head, huh? Like everyone can make up stories, but let's just find the facts, huh? Take away the numbers, take away the results. This is a little bit touching on last week's podcast, but take away all of that and actually think about your own experience, right? Think of the things you're proud of yourself for actually getting through things.
Yeah. And know that you're not alone. And if you're feeling freaking uncomfortable and when it like really mentally like painful, know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And if you want to connect with someone who knows what that feels like, you literally now have proof that I've been in that situation. And get in touch. Like this is I kept on told, like I had people walking up to me and saying just like the mindset that you have. I was like, yeah, well, that happens to be my expertise. Like there would be no way I could have done something like this before I started doing all this. There's no way. Like, not like the registering to the competition, I wouldn't even have done that. Like, that is one part of it. But then to go through all the process, the preparations, all the talking to people around it afterwards. I didn't even mention, like, I had lots of people coming over to watch. Even my parents came over from Sweden to watch the competition. I had, friends, trainers, even my farrier drove 2 hours to watch. Like, there were so many people there to watch who came out to watch me. And then, you have that happening on cross country with all those people there. Like, that was something also completely new to me. Yeah. And I am not sure I would have been able to cope with that if I wouldn't have done all this mental work.
And I think I love what you said, because this is real life, huh? This is what happened. Like, we will have these experiences, huh? Yeah. When you do something really cool, people want to come and support you, but that also brings a bit of pressure. I know everyone 100%. Says pressure comes within, but of course it's going to bring a bit of extra pressure, huh? And you've never had to deal with an experience like that before. And I think it's all of that stuff's new as well, huh? It's all new on top of it all. But I think it is the story and the meaning that you make, out of the situation.
Yeah. And I just see this all as, valuable experience. Like, thank God I had all those people coming out. Thank God I had to sit through that. Thank God, because it makes me, I know I've experienced this. Like, next time I step into a 4-star, I will be like, oh yeah, I know what to expect now. Like, I know what's going to happen. I know how it's going to feel. Like,
sometimes that's not the best thing, though, huh? Because I think that actually Emily mentioned that the other day. She's like, it's all very well doing something once, but then you get that realization. You're like, shit, I've got to do this again. And I think the first time you actually have no real idea how you're going to feel or, how it's going to go. But then suddenly you're like, whoa, I've got to experience all those feelings and emotions and everything that comes with it. I then, not that you've got to, you get to, I guess, once you kind of get into it.
You get it. Yeah, 100%.
It takes
100%.
work, huh? That takes work on yourself. And
yeah. But it is also addictive. So I gotta say, I'm already looking forward to next night. So, call me crazy, but when I think that was the first thing. When I stood up there in the grass, I just thought to myself, I'm gonna give this another shot. Like, it's.
I think that as well. So people, you are joking about it, but even people saying you're crazy, unless you've done the work on yourself, you would actually start to even question that statement as well. Huh? When people say, "Oh, you're crazy,"
100%.
You would, of course, as a human, you're going to question, well, what does that mean? Why are they saying that? And I think it just shows you the importance of actually working on yourself before you push yourself. Understand yourself before you push yourself.
I think it's a compliment. I think it is 100% as a compliment, because I'm like, the fact that you think I'm crazy, that means that you see that I'm pushing myself. And that means that you see that I am growing. I'm daring to do something that most people don't. And I take that as a huge compliment.
Well done. Super well done.
Thank you.
Good job.
It helps to have people like Lorna in your corner. That is huge. And I think that is also so helpful. Apart from all the mental work that I have done, the fact that I have so many supportive people in my corner. People Absolutely. Who aren't necessarily, always telling me I'm doing the right thing, but people that dare to be honest. People that support me, people that pick me up when it's not going amazing, who helps me reframe those thoughts, who are there, people that come in and give you a hug before cross country, after cross country, it's all those small things, it's so important to have those kind of people in your corner. Good-o. That was a lot. If you have any questions about any of this, maybe you're thinking about making a first step up, or maybe you have done a step up and it didn't quite go to plan, know that you are certainly not alone. It means you're in the right place. But if you want to have someone to talk to, do get in touch. You'll find the details in the show notes of this episode. And as always, Lorna, we're going to challenge everyone to start making strides in their mindset so they can truly make strides in their riding. And we will see you on the next Magical Monday.